There was a time in the Buddha's life when he was still Siddhartha, the prince of the Shakya clan. Surrounded by silks, scented oils, music, and mirrors, his world was full, yet somehow hollow. Every pleasure had been arranged for him. No cry, no decay, no sorrow was permitted to reach the palace walls. And yet, deep inside, Siddhartha felt a quiet ache. Not a loud pain, but a gentle tug, like the tide pulling at the shore. That ache was the beginning of strength. Not the kind that raises voices or lifts heavy things, but the kind that whispers, "There must be more than this." So Siddhartha stepped beyond the palace gates, and what he saw changed him. An old man, bent and frail, a sick man, pale and trembling, a corpse, cold and still, and then a monk, walking barefoot with eyes full of peace. That day, strength took root in him, not as power but as stillness, not as dominance, but as clarity. To grow mentally strong is not to harden, it is to soften in the right places, to stand in life the way a tree does, deeply rooted, flexible in the wind, offering shade to others even as storms pass through. There was once a young woman who came to the Buddha with her dead child in her arms. She was wild with grief, pleading for him to bring her son back. The Buddha did not preach or promise. Instead, he gently asked her to bring him a mustard seed from a household that had never known death. She searched. She knocked on door after door, and at every threshold she found the same story. Sorrow lived there too. When she returned, exhausted and tear-streaked, she finally understood. The burden she carried was not hers alone. Her strength was born not from forgetting her grief, but from allowing it to open her heart to others. Mental strength, in the way the Dharma teaches it, isn't about becoming invincible. It is about becoming intimate with reality, seeing things as they are, without turning away. It is the strength to sit with discomfort, to cradle confusion like a crying child until it quiets, not because you force it, but because you stay. A monk once asked his master, "How can I attain peace?" The master replied, "Have you finished your rice?" "Yes," the monk said, "then wash your bowl." So simple, so ordinary. And yet, this is where strength is cultivated, in the everyday, in the practice of presence. To wash the bowl, not with haste or resistance, but with full attention, is a kind of training. It is a commitment to show up for life, not just when it's dramatic or meaningful, but also when it's repetitive, silent, or seemingly small. There is a saying in Zen, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." We do not become strong by escaping life. We become strong by entering it fully. One of the most misunderstood ideas in modern thinking is that strength means not feeling. But in the teachings of the Buddha, feeling is not the enemy. Craving is, aversion is, ignorance is. But to feel deeply, joy, sorrow, awe, fear, is to be human. And to face those feelings with openness and wisdom is to become unshakable. There was an old Zen master who lived alone in the mountains. One winter, a traveler found his hut and asked to stay the night. The master welcomed him, offering simple soup and firelight. As they talked, the traveler noticed the master's home was nearly empty.
"You have no possessions," the traveler said. "How do you live like this?"
The master smiled. "You see an empty room. I see a space where everything breathes."
Mental strength is like that room. It is not cluttered with judgment, defensiveness, or grasping. It has space. And in that space, life moves freely. To be strong is not to push away struggle, but to hold it without flinching. When pain comes, it is not weakness to weep. It is wisdom to let the rain fall so the roots can grow deeper. In the monastery, novice monks are often assigned the task of sweeping leaves. At first, they sweep with urgency, eager to finish. But over time, they learn that the sweeping is not for the garden, it is for the mind. Each motion is a way of learning how to stay, to be here, to breathe, to bow to the moment as it is. We become strong not by controlling life, but by dancing with it. We do not overcome suffering by resisting it, but by meeting it with curiosity, with grace, with patience. There is a quiet discipline in showing up each day with a heart willing to be opened. That willingness is strength, not the kind that shouts or demands attention, but the kind that listens, forgives, waits. Like the Buddha sitting beneath the Bodhi tree, unmoving for days as Mara, the Lord of Illusion, tried to distract him with fear, desire, and doubt. But the Buddha did not fight. He touched the earth, and in that gesture he said, "I see you." That is strength. The courage to face every part of ourselves, to sit with our demons, and to stay rooted in what is real. It may not look like strength in the worldly sense, but there is a power in stillness that no chaos can shake. And in that stillness, in that silence, in that steady breath, we find a kind of clarity that does not shout but reveals, a kind of resilience that does not harden but opens, a kind of strength that does not conquer but holds all things gently like the sky holds the stars. Now let us begin to understand this through 5 habits, not commandments, not goals, but quiet practices that return us to our center. The first is the habit of embracing impermanence. Everything changes. Everything. To grasp is to suffer. But to observe change like the shifting light of dusk, to bow to it, even as it stirs fear in us, this is strength. When we stop fighting impermanence, we begin to flow. Like a river that curves around stone, we adapt, not by force but by surrender. And in that surrender we discover we are not broken by change, we are made by it. The second habit is compassionate awareness, to watch our thoughts not as enemies or rulers but as visitors. Some stay too long, some knock loudly, but none are permanent. When we sit, breathe, and simply observe, we step outside the storm. We learn that we are not the thoughts, we are the sky they pass through. The more we practice this gentle noticing, the stronger our sense of spaciousness becomes, and in that space we grow. The third habit is mindful speech. Words carry seeds. Some bloom into kindness, others into harm. The Buddha taught that speech should be true, useful, kind, and timely. When we speak from reaction, we scatter thorns. When we speak from awareness, we plant healing. To hold the tongue, to breathe before we speak, to ask ourselves, is this necessary? Is it helpful? This is the strength of restraint. And often, silence itself is the most profound expression of wisdom. The fourth habit is learning to befriend solitude. In our modern world, silence is mistaken for emptiness, and solitude is often confused with loneliness. But in the Dharma, solitude is a temple. It is in solitude that the inner landscape becomes visible. We begin to hear the soft murmurs of our intuition, the gentle stirrings of insight that are drowned out by noise. The Buddha himself sought solitude not as an escape, but as a return to the self that is not shaped by the clamor of opinions, expectations, or distractions. There is a Zen story of a monk who climbed a mountain each day just to sit in silence beneath an old pine tree. He did this for years, without explanation. One day, a traveler asked him, "What do you gain by sitting in silence so long?" The monk smiled and said, "Nothing, but let me tell you what I lost. Anger, fear, confusion, and pride. This is the truth of solitude. In stillness, the mind settles like muddy water in a jar. What was once cloudy becomes clear. We don't gain anything flashy, but we lose the weights we didn't know we were carrying, and in that losing, we become free." Solitude teaches us to sit with ourselves without needing to perform or pretend. It teaches us to befriend our own company, to find the treasure in simplicity. Even in a crowded world, solitude can be cultivated. A walk without your phone, a morning without noise, a breath taken consciously, these are small doors into vast silence. The fifth habit, perhaps the most important, is choosing presence over perfection. In a world that constantly whispers we are not enough, presence is a radical act. To be here, in this body, with this breath, without needing to fix or improve, is a sacred defiance. It is saying, this moment, just as it is worthy of my full attention. There is a parable of 2 monks crossing a muddy path. A woman stands, hesitant, at the edge. One monk lifts her and carries her across. Hours later, the other monk says, "You shouldn't have touched her. We monks don't do that." The first monk replies, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This is what presence teaches us, to carry what matters and to release what doesn't. We often drag behind us bags of regret, judgment, worry, and comparison. But none of these exist in the present moment. Here, now, there is only this breath, this choice, this unfolding. To practice presence is to walk through life with open hands. It is to meet each moment without the burden of expectation. The taste of tea, the rustle of leaves, the glance of a stranger, each is a gate to awareness if we enter it fully. Presence does not require us to be perfect. The mind will wander, the heart will hurt, but each time we return, each time we notice we've drifted and gently come back, we grow stronger. Not in a way the world can measure, but in a way the soul can feel. These 5 habits, embracing impermanence, compassionate awareness, mindful speech, befriending solitude, and choosing presence over perfection, are not tasks to accomplish but paths to walk. Some days the path will be steep, some days it will be clear and bright, but each step, taken with sincerity, transforms us. We begin to feel what Siddhartha felt under the Bodhi tree, not a sudden bolt of strength, but a slow, steady unfolding, a knowing, a peace that rises not in spite of the world, but because we are finally in harmony with it. To those listening, remember this: you are not weak for feeling deeply. You are not behind for moving slowly. You are on the path. And the path, walked with presence and care, is its own reward. In this moment, wherever you are, pause. Feel your breath. Feel the aliveness in your hands. Notice the space around you. This is where strength begins. Not tomorrow. Not when you have everything figured out. But now. Thank you for walking this journey with me. May your days be full of stillness, your words rooted in kindness, and your heart brave enough to stay open. Until next time, breathe gently, live wisely, and let the strength of your spirit shine quietly from within.